inspiring luxury. And JN Money.
From abroad to yard.
Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctor's Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctor's Hospital. Always there for you. Call 949-6066. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And Kirk Market. Experience a world of choice.
We ask our listeners and viewers to avoid any statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use indecent language or make any statement that is false or misleading. Call 1-800-534-8255, 949-6990, 949-8037, or WhatsApp us on 925-3261.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, O land of soft, fresh breezes and verdant trees so fair. Today is Monday, the 20th day of January 2025, right here in the beautiful Cayman Islands. We do hope and we trust that everyone had a restful, peaceful, enjoyable weekend. Those of you who are on our roads, whether you're a pedestrian, a cyclist, or if you're operating any type of motorized vehicle, we urge you to please be extremely cautious. Ensure that you observe the rules of the road, because the life you save may just be your own. For those of you who are celebrating a birthday today, or if you celebrated one over the past few days, we want to wish you a happy birthday or a belated one, whichever is applicable. And to remind you that the For the Record birthday shout-outs brought to you by Coca-Cola, who are proud to support your birthday shout-outs. Coca-Cola available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga wholesalers. You should accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Those of you who have lost loved ones, again, we want to extend our sincere condolences to you. We hope and we trust that your faith will help to carry you through these extremely challenging times, and that the memories of your loved ones will be a blessing. Those of you who are ill and are either at home or at a medical facility here in the Cayman Islands or overseas, we do wish you a speedy recovery. So, folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, wherever that may be. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I have the distinct pleasure of being your host. My name is Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. During that period, we have our phone lines that are open, a toll-free number provided courtesy of Flow. That toll-free number is 1-800-534-8255. You can only access that number if you're calling from a Flow, if you have a Flow account, calling from a Flow number as well. We also have other landlines, 949-8037, 949-6990, a WhatsApp number that can only accommodate one caller at a time. That WhatsApp number is 925-3261. You can follow us on YouTube. You do that by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream, and don't forget that we are on Facebook as well. So first of all, let's look at the birthday shout-outs again, to remind you that they're brought to you by Coca-Cola. They're proud to support your birthday shout-outs. Coca-Cola is available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga wholesalers. You should accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. So we see Mr. Stanford Watson celebrating his birthday today, and I'll give you a little sneak preview. He's the brother of our own Miss Susan Watson right here at Radio Cayman. So, Mr. Stanford Watson, you have enjoy your very special day today. We also see that Trilby Lingard is celebrating a birthday today, and then we have other birthdays for coming up tomorrow. Clinton Ebanks celebrating his birthday. Cadane Hall celebrating the birthday tomorrow as well. Harriet Jane Lott celebrating her birthday tomorrow as well as Donna Gale. So, happy birthday to those of you who are celebrating it today, and happy birthday when it comes tomorrow for those of you celebrating tomorrow. As I pointed out on the last show, there are quotes that I will share with you on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. They're from the Rotary Club, Cayman Islands, Sunset. And today's saying, give vocational training to the manually minded, and the children's courts of the future will have less to do. I'll repeat that. Give vocational training to the manually minded, and the children's courts of the future will have less to do. Yep. So those who are manually minded, you give vocational training to them. Yeah. We know that not everyone is cut out to be a lawyer or a doctor. As a matter of fact, some of those jobs, manual jobs like plumbers and things like that, you make a lot of money. Very rewarding salaries that can be, achieved in those particular occupations as well. So today we see that Donald Trump, the President of the United States, his inauguration will take place today. He'll take the oath of office. Today is also, and it's sort of ironic, but today is also the Martin Luther King holiday today. So it is Martin Luther King Day is observed the third Monday in January. And there's an article that talks about the fact that it took a 15-year battle for Martin Luther King Jr. Day to be recognized. It was in November 2nd of 1983, then U.S. President Ronald Reagan signed the King Holiday Bill into law, designating the third Monday in January a federal holiday in observance of civil rights leader Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The legislation to recognize Martin Luther King Jr. Day was first introduced just 4 days after his assassination on the 4th of April 1968. Still, it would take 15 years of persistence by civil rights activists for the holiday to be approved by the federal government, and an additional 17 years for it to be recognized in all 50 states. Today, it is the only federal holiday designated as a national day of service to encourage all Americans to volunteer and improve their communities. What else can I share with you? King Day ritual began in Atlanta with the commemorative services held on January the 15th at Ebenezer Baptist Church, which both Coretta Scott King and Ralph Abernathy attended. These events served as a template for federal holiday ceremonies. The day began with Martin Luther King III placing a wreath on his father's grave, followed by notable speakers. The congregation sang, "We Shall Overcome." People drove cars with headlights on, and a black state shall overcome. People drove cars with headlights on, and a black state senator introduced a King Holiday bill for Georgia. Many of these activities became rituals and subsequent commemorations in Atlanta. So today, Martin Luther King Day, in addition to the inauguration of Donald Trump as the 47th President of the United States of America. So with that, we're going to take a first commercial break. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, He hath founded it upon the seas.
Affectionately known as Miss Kippy, Muriel Sims was a very humble person who had a passion for teaching and taught children at her residence on Goring Avenue, Georgetown, until children attended government school at the age of 7. Her classes were held outside without seating, and children wrote on slates instead of blackboards. At times there would be 10 to 12 students attending classes which were held under a tree, and throughout the day the students would shift around according to the sun. The cost was a pence per child per day, although Miss Kippy turned no child away. For those who knew her best, Miss Kippy was kind, inspiring, pure, purposeful, and yearning always to better the community in which she lived, whether imparting knowledge to children or wishing the best for her fellow man. Information from this historical vignette was sourced from the Lions Club of Grand Cayman.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way. Positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
Did you know that Doctors Hospital provides urgent care services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And Doctors Hospital's urgent care physicians have access to the most advanced MRI and CT imaging in the Caribbean, providing reliable diagnostics when you need it most. When you need quality urgent care for an illness or injury, Doctors Hospital is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walker's Road. Urgent care right now.
It's me again, that old girl, traveling everywhere with Cayman Airways. This time, I go in direct to Tampa because Tampa airfares are on sale. You know, it's been a long time and I seen Cousin Sally up in Tampa or Uncle Joe in Orlando, but I'm not sitting in the Orlando airport traffic, no sir. If you go in Orlando, Cayman Airways via Tampa, still the best way to go. You can even book a car rental through them, you know. And I know one thing, I'm racking up all the Sir Turtle rewards miles I can get for even more trips this year.
For travel now through April 15th, call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to catch your Tampa seats on sale now through January 27th.
Can you imagine your home completely organized? At Brand Source Custom Closets, we can. We specialize in designing and building custom closets and storage units for any room in your home, including the garage. With tailored designs and custom LED lighting solutions to fit your lifestyle and budget. Our Custom Closets expert is committed to enhancing the value of your home with a solution that is uniquely yours. Visit our showroom or call 623-6774 to schedule a no-obligation appointment with our design expert. Brand Source Custom Closets, 209 Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers, a compounding story.
I don't think people realize how pain creeps into your life. It has a way of robbing your strength. I really don't like taking prescription medication orally.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. They understand.
When it comes to compounded medication, it's personal. So whenever there's a problem with some medication or treatments that's not working right, then a physician will call me and say, hey, they're having bad side effects from this medication.
Compounding pain cream changed the game. Made special for me. Significant pain relief in the form of a cream. That is a new experience for me.
It's changed his life.
It worked.
Ask your pharmacist or healthcare provider about compounding at West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. Call 914-6449.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, K-Man.
This is For the Record.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. No guests in the studio. Phone lines are open. We will have Deputy Premier and Minister Honorable Kenneth Bryan in the studio after the 8 o'clock news. Meanwhile, if you want to converse, we have about 12 minutes before we go to our 8 o'clock news. Meanwhile, we see that on Sunday, outgoing U.S. President Joe Biden pardoned several individuals yesterday, including Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who was granted clemency posthumously. Garvey, of course, we know, was a black nationalist who was convicted of mail fraud in the 1920s. And we know that in those days, it wasn't unusual for charges to be trumped up. No pun intended. But yes, he was a little bit too successful. Says his sentence was commuted in 1927 by then U.S. President Calvin Coolidge. So Biden has now pardoned him as well, rather than having a commutation of the sentence. And we know that several several legislators of Caribbean descent, especially the New York area, pushed for Biden to pardon him as well. So again, that's some additional news, for you today. Do we have a caller, Miss Susan? We have we have two callers, a WhatsApp caller and a regular caller. We're going to ask the WhatsApp caller to hold on. We're going to take the landline caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, OC. This is Minister Bryan.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Not too bad. Good morning to your listening audience. I just want to, before we go to the news break, let everybody know I'll be coming on to the show at 8:15. And so to stay tuned. My plan today is to speak about the upcoming sitting of Parliament, which is going to be the last sitting of Parliament. And some things discussed today would be the referendum bill, the National Conservation Bill, sexual harassment bill, some customs and immigration fee amendments, and changes in law. And also I got two major announcements to make today that we'll do closer to the end of the show.
Okay.
So those and my constituency and the Greater Cayman Islands, please stay tuned and don't be afraid to call in when the show starts. I'll be in for 8:15.
Excellent, excellent. Looking forward to it.
All right, OC. Thank you so much.
Okay, see you then. Let's grab the WhatsApp caller now. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yep.
Morning, Mr. O.C., Mario.
Good morning, good morning. How are you?
Okay, good, very good. Beautiful day in Cayman Islands, and good morning to all the listeners.
Yes, and thanks for your kind comments on Friday as well.
Sure, sir. No problem. I just want to raise a couple of quick points. I mightn't be able to call in or listen too much once the honorable guests are there after the 8 o'clock news. But a few things I want to just raise. One is, I don't know if you noticed, I'm sure you noticed that the amount of people who are on the streets riding and walking around and whatnot with their face covered, totally covered by masks. And I think that is something that we got to be careful about. During COVID, it was a whole different situation. But people are wearing these, people who work in construction or those who are just riding on the street. I'm not sure if they come from countries where you have heavy pollution, and so they're doing that to try to avoid the dust or pollution. But it also, I think, is a security or a safety concern. Because if some of those same people were to ride along a line of visitors or even residents, people who are walking along the sidewalks at lunchtime or visitors from cruise ships, and just go and swipe a bunch of handbags or jewelry or whatnot off these people's bodies and run, you wouldn't have a clue who's doing it, And recently I had that shooting in New York where the shooter had a mask on. Yes, of course, it was very cold there too, so part of it was for that. But if it was only by sheer luck that he was identified, because the only thing you could see from his from the video CCTV footage was his teeth. So I think it's something you need to look at, and I think I'm not sure if there's no regulations in place for that, and maybe when the Premier and Deputy Premier come in, they could speak to that. There's no regulations in the Traffic Act that could deal with that. But it is a problem, and I see it happening. And I was in Georgetown the other day, and I saw people riding by on their bicycles or walking by in broad daylight with masks on and the face almost all covered. So I want to raise that quick point.
So how would you address that without intruding on persons' personal liberties?
I would think you have to resort to in the interest of the community, law and order and safety, and you draw back on that. And I think that should overcome all these little nuances about human rights to cover up your face and all kind of stuff. I think in the interest of the community is one of the things that we could use to deal with that. And it must be something in the Constitution, Bill of Rights, and also in the Labor Act. I mean, not Labor Act, the Traffic Act, perhaps, or Penal Code to deal with that. So I'm sure there's a solution. I think it needs to be addressed before we do have some opportunists use that as a good getaway to avoid prosecution during a crime.
Okay.
The second quick point, unless you want something else asked.
No. Go ahead.
The second quick point is the cost that's been proposed or suggested for the new bypass road. Almost $1 billion over, I think it's over 50 years in terms of construction and maintenance. Huge. And when you look at the article in the Compass on Friday, you see where they look at the time projections of how much time is going to be saved by commuters, by people in cars and whatnot going from different parts of the eastern districts to Georgetown. The average time that's going to be saved is only 4 minutes. And I think, like I say, I think we got to look at the whole thing with traffic and not just building roads, but other solutions. You and I talked about this before, things like staggered time, flex time, hybrid remote working from home, etc. For people who have work permits, of course, or people who are qualified to work from home. And so I think we got to look at that. But the other point I want to make is that the Master Ground Transportation Study, you remember that, the Master Ground Transportation Plan, that was put forward in the early 90s, I think, 1991, after the election. Sorry, not 91, it was 89, after the 1988 elections. You remember Mr.
Pearson,
late Captain Charles Connor was the Minister for Communication and Works. The government of Mr. Benson, Mr. Charles, Captain Charles, late also Basil Johnson, and also Mr. Norman Borden was the government. They put together a Master Ground Transportation Plan, and after the elections of 1988, the opposition at that time, of which the current member for West Bay West was a part of the opposition, fought to remove or to cancel that plan, and also not to preserve the corridors. I was the Chamber of Commerce manager at the time, and I cried and fought and argued for at least preserving those road corridors. Everything is thrown out. Now we're paying the price for all that by having to buy land that is valuable, some developed, and some the prices have gone way up to be able to put those roads in that we could have reserved those corridors in 1989. So that again is a problem. But my thing is that roads itself is not going to do the solution. We need other solutions such as staggered time, public transportation, busing for school children, and that kind of thing. And the final point, Mr. Orrett, is you mentioned, I think the Deputy Premier mentioned that they're bringing the anti-sexual harassment legislation to Parliament. I think that's a good move in general, in principle. But the thing I want to mention, it's also dangerous in the sense that the law has to have the resources to be properly enforced, and tribunals, if they exist, have to be able to have people on that know what they're doing and have the time to meet. Because if you have someone accused in a workplace or publicly about sexual harassment, you have to have that whole thing processed quick enough so that the person or persons are not destroyed reputational wise. And so the law has to have regulations and resources to be able to manage it properly. Otherwise, it could be a very bad thing. So I hope they have a plan for funding and resourcing the Labour Department to carry out that extra responsibility.
Yes, yeah.
I leave you there unless you have anything else for me, sir.
No, that's basically it. Thank you for that. But the last point that you made there about the legislation, it's one thing to have legislation in place, but if it's not going to be effective because you don't have all of the enabling legislation and then having all of the moving parts in place to bring the legislation into effect, then it is all for naught. It's a pyrrhic victory at the end of the day.
Yes, sir. I couldn't say it better myself. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We have another caller, but we've reached the top of the hour for 8 o'clock news. We're going to welcome that caller to call back after the 8 o'clock news, and we will take your call. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. And studio time now by Foster's is 7:59.
Why is your drink so green? Is this some New Year trend?
Being healthy isn't a trend, it's a lifestyle, and I'm trying to do better, to be better.
Be better? Well, what's wrong with regular soda?
In moderation, nothing. But it's nice to have something nourishing.
Wow, you took New Year, New Me to heart.
You gotta when you're helping to live well with Foster's and CG Brit K. It's a great free resource for healthy tips to help you achieve your wellness goals.
How do I start?
Check out livewell.fosters.ky and live well with Foster's and CG Brit K.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Caymanbrack and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With a look at your latest news, I'm Jevi Ebanks. A conservation success story. As Radio Cayman's Carsley Fuller reports, Little Cayman's biodiversity is flourishing after a series of invasive species control.
Little Cayman's native species have been plagued by invasive predators for years, with the endemic sister island's rock iguana being hit particularly hard by cats. And after 2 years of control work, it's estimated that 87% of invasive feral cats have been removed from Little Cayman, with many residents noticing a, quote, significant increase in the number of young sister islands rock iguanas and other native wildlife. A DOE study of the health of the feral cats removed from the environment between 2022 and 24 revealed, quote, quote, poor body conditions from starvation, pregnancies, injuries, and infections. In 2023, a team of specialists from Australia were invited to conduct a preliminary study on the feasibility of eradicating feral cats entirely from the island. The team is now back performing tests over the next 4 weeks using humane, non-lethal, unarmed trap and non-toxic bait methods to help determine if local native species might be impacted by them. Motion cameras will record any species that interact with the setups, studying how Little Cayman's native species like iguanas, birds, or land crabs react to them, ultimately determining whether the techniques can be used safely in Little Cayman's ecosystem. The testing traps will be clearly marked and pose, quote, no threat to humans or pets. Depending on how the tests go, the DOE says there will be a conversation with the Little Cayman community about the possibility of eradicating all feral cats from the island. Reporting for Radio Cayman News, I'm Carsley Fuller.
Eradication or even extensive control over wide areas is not currently being explored in Grand Cayman or Cayman Brac, as these areas are much more densely populated and complex. Cayman Islands' newest male CARICOM Youth Ambassador has been appointed. Devontae Joseph holds a bachelor degree in Chemical and Energy Engineering from the University of Leeds. A former Water Authority Scholarship recipient, he's been engaged in volunteer work with the Cayman Islands Red Cross, the Humane Society, the Pines, the Health Services Authority, and other charitable organizations. Mr. Josephs joined the female ambassador, Vanessa Burke. The role of CYA is to advocate for and educate their peers in local and regional youth priorities. In taking up the mantle, Joseph will be tasked with fulfilling project and advocacy through 2026. The newly constructed Church of God multi-purpose hall has been officially handed over to the Bodentown Church of God. The planning ministry says the milestone marks a, quote, key step in enhancing community resilience in the rapidly growing district of Bodentown. Prior to its completion, the Bodentown Primary School served as the sole hurricane shelter in the area. And as of Friday, the National Weather Service says the maintenance work on the Kearney Gomez Doppler weather radar has been successfully completed. Full operation has been restored and products are available at weather.gov.ky. For all the latest weather information, you can always keep it locked right here to Radio Cayman. That is your latest news. I'm Jevi Ebanks. Now to the BBC for headlines around the world.
BBC News with Justine Green. The UN says the need for aid in Gaza is staggering as most Palestinians returning to their homes found them destroyed. Its head of humanitarian affairs said more than 600 aid trucks had entered the territory on Sunday following Hamas's ceasefire with Israel. Around half travelled to the previously bombed and besieged north. Donald Trump is to take office as the 47th President of the United States at his inauguration in Washington, D.C. later. The ceremony will be held indoors in the Capitol building due to harsh sub-zero temperatures in the city. An Indian man found guilty of the rape and murder of a trainee doctor in the city of Kolkata has been sentenced to life in prison. Sanjay Roy had denied committing the crime that led to nationwide outrage and protests in India. China has executed 2 men who carried out separate acts of public violence that left a total of 43 people dead. Russia is investigating a viral video that appears to show a military policeman severely beating 2 wounded soldiers who are to be sent to Ukraine. Reports say the 2 have been discharged from hospital. BBC News.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road and in Bodentown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin, or the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Bodentown. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman with the latest up-to-date, accurate news and information. For your convenience, the headline news will be repeated on our sister station, Breeze 105.3 FM, weekdays at 8:30 a.m. Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or download the Radio Cayman app in the App Store or log on to www.radiocayman.gov.ky and stay connected to what's happening in the community. Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Happy New Year from Vigoro. We're so excited to keep growing with you in 2025. Ready to bring new life to your landscape this year? Come to Vigoro. With over 40 years of experience and multiple Governor's Awards for excellence in design, we're pros at turning garden dreams into reality. From cozy corners to big backyard projects, residential or commercial, our award-winning team is here to help you grow. Let's make 2025 your greenest year yet, Cayman. With Vigoro by your side.
Time to rack up some extra Sir Turtle Rewards miles with the Cayman Airways Tampa airfare sale now on. Tampa sale fares are available for travels now through April 15th. But hurry, this sale won't last long. Book by January 27. You can call 949-2311, contact a local travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com to catch your Tampa seats on sale now through January 27th.
Healthcare Pharmacy, caring about your health for the past 25 years. Radio Cayman's premier health show.
Alzheimer's and dementia, are they the same disorder?
Yeah, I think that's a very important question.
For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
Is heard on Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. and on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Brought to you by Healthcare Pharmacy in Grand Harbor, where they care about your health. Transfer and refill your prescription online. Visit healthcarepharmacy.ky or call 947-8900. Healthcare Pharmacy, now with a second location in Governor's Square. Healthcare Pharmacy, where they care about your health.
Has your child been diagnosed with ADHD, or have you been told to seek an assessment for your child based on certain hyperactive, inattentive, or impulsive behaviors? Then the Family Resource Center's Understanding ADHD virtual workshop can help. The workshop supports parents' understanding of ADHD, parenting strategies for children with ADHD, and other useful information to support your child. Contact Family Resource Center at frc@gov.ky to reserve your spot for this free workshop.
Good morning. Let's take a look at the latest weather report. Current temperature is 80 degrees, relative humidity 90%. The barometric pressure 30.05 inches and steady. The wind is east-northeast at 9 knots. Overnight low was 76. Synopsis indicate light to moderate winds are expected to prevail across the Cayman area through Tuesday morning as a cold front moves across the Yucatan Channel. Radar images show isolated showers south of the Cayman Islands drifting towards the west. Now the forecast for the Cayman Islands for today, calling for partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers. Temperatures will be in the mid-80s. Winds will be easterly 10 to 15 knots, and seas will be slight to moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. Tonight, mainly fair skies with a 20% chance of showers, and temperatures will fall to the mid-70s tonight. Expect your winds to be east to northeast at 5 to 10 knots, and seas will be slight to moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. Low tide will be in about 2 minutes at 11 minutes past 8. High tide this afternoon at 1:33, and a low tide again tonight at 8:41. The sun will set this evening at 10 minutes past 6 and will rise tomorrow morning at 2 minutes after 7. And the outlook is calling for a further decrease in winds on Tuesday night through Wednesday morning as the cold front moves over the extreme northwest Caribbean. A strong high-pressure system is expected to build behind the front, leading to a gradual increase in winds and seas from Friday morning. And that's the very latest on your weather report.
There's nothing more important than your health, and seeking expert healthcare with physicians you can trust is what you deserve. UHealth, the University of Miami Health System, offers peace of mind to you and your family with a first-class experience. Our patient coordinators assist with everything you need before, during, and after your stay with us. As South Florida's only academic-based health system, UHealth offers cutting-edge treatment, compassionate care, and life-changing results just a flight away. Learn more at umiamihealth.org/international.
Radio Cayman. Biggest
Biggest variety in the morning. Biggest variety.
RC Fusion.
Following the 10 a.m. news headline.
Brought to you by TCE Paint Shop, 27 Godfrey Nixon Way.
RC Fusion.
The Georgetown Farmers Market. It's time you start eating local. The market at the Cricket Grounds.
My Kinda Cleaners. Call or WhatsApp 326-3379 for your free quote today. Ministry of Planning, Agriculture, Housing, Infrastructure, Transportation, and Development. Also brought to you by Rosanna Dixon Insurance. Protect your family with critical illness coverage. Call Rosanna Dixon at 547-0952.
Biggest variety in the morning.
Radio K-Man.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Enjoy a delicious start to your day with breakfast from Subway.
Top of the morning once again. Let's take a look at what's happening on our roads. Traffic is slow moving coming from the east on Crew Road. Linford Pearson Highway, heavy traffic. Steady traffic coming off of Bobby Thompson Way as well as Agnes Way. As we turn our attention to the West Bay area, West Bay four-way stop, flowing pretty good. On the West Bay Road in front of the Ritz, traffic is moderate in both directions, as well as on Godfrey Nixon Way and Eastern Avenue. North Sound Road traffic steady but flowing in both directions, heading towards the Industrial Park area, flowing at a good pace. Coming off of the Estella Tibbetts Highway, steady but flowing traffic. And that's what's happening on your roads. Join us again at about 10 minutes past 12. We'll give you another look at traffic. Have a good morning and click it or ticket.
Did you know ordering your favorite sandwich from Subway just got easier? Yeah, picture this. No more waiting in line. No more fussing with cash. Just a delicious taste of Subway at your fingertips. With our new app, ordering your go-to sub is as easy as a few taps on your phone. Plus, receive exclusive deals and earn loyalty points with every purchase made on the app. Download the new Subway app today and get ready to ditch the lines and drive straight into your flavor. Visit the App Store or Google Play Store on your mobile phone and search for Subway Cayman Islands. Subway. Eat fresh.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Enjoy a delicious start to your day with breakfast from Subway.
The new KFC nuggets have arrived. That unlike the no-gets, ours are handmade using 100% white meat, unlike the no-gets. At KFC, we hand-bread every day to achieve the perfect flavor. After you try our delicious and crispy nuggets in the original recipe, you'll never settle for less. KFC, the real nuggets. It's finger-licking good.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're still waiting for the Deputy Premier to be in the studio. Meanwhile, want to invite that caller who we could not accommodate before the 8 o'clock news to call back if they so wish. Meanwhile, we've been asked to send out birthday greetings by Miss Paula Scott to her sister Angie in Cayman Brack. Miss Paula is wishing her a happy birthday and telling her to be blessed to enjoy many, many more. So Angie, birthday greetings coming from your sister, Miss Paula Scott. We have a caller back on the line. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Morning, OC. How you doing there, brother?
Good morning. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I say, OC, you know, if you know something, you don't have to believe it, right?
True.
Okay. Now, Mr. OC, you have held some of the most respectable position in our island, right?
Okay.
And you've done it, and you've done a very good job.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Now, remember you said on your last show You said on your last show that nothing is going to be done about the reason thing until it affects certain people. Right? And now you know what you said? Mark my word. So that means you know the runnings of the government, right?
Well, not necessarily the runnings of the government. I just know how our people operate. You know, we have done that over and over. You hear this saying that a prophet is not accepted in his own country. We in Cayman prefer to hear and follow suggestions of others rather than our own.
But in my interpretation of it, right, is that our representative, because it's only our representatives can change it, right? Right away with that.
Right.
All right. We change the representative, but they have to change the situation. Now, your statement, which was relevant, I interpreted to saying that our representatives, well, it's obvious it's happening, is making our people suffer and suffer until some other people start to suffer, and they, the foreigners, because that's what they are the ball out, and the rich, the privileged, because remember now, you know, when the privileged kids get busted with a little weed, they say, oh, no, what man, I know your dad is. I talked to him about it. Case closed. So, you know, it's a very, very sad situation. When, and listen to me now, see, that was a very, I said again, that was a very, very bold statement that you made. I mean, I don't know how the rest of the island is taking it, or the world, for that matter, because we in this world too. A lot of people don't believe it. But it is a sad story. When we let our people suffer for years and years and years, and then other people come and broke the same law that we breaking, and then now recorded against them. You know, or see, every child in this world was born innocent, you know.
Yep.
What they see happening in this world, that brings out the evil in them. And it's a sad story, but it's really true. Now, see, the first caller this morning, Mr. Ebanks there, about the face corrupt, that is against the law. The only time that you can cover your face in public is if it's so recommended from your health practitioner. That covering up their face is that if they steal, nobody don't know who they is, and they are working without permit, and nobody don't know it's against the law. But we are sitting down here saying nothing, just doing nothing about it, and we got another trend that's taking over now. They got to have your face full of covered, and they are showing. Does anybody noticing that trend? In our polling Caymanian, did you ever say our polling Caymanian? When somebody comes to teach them something sensible, they don't want that. But when a fool comes and do ignorance and stupidity, they just follow it down the line. You know, like ants going to a trail of sugar, just following the trail. And I can tell you something. Well, see, this election coming up here, I hear a lot of people talk, and I hear them coming and talk this and thing about food at the table, cost of living, all these. Look at, we need some heavy enforcement of our immigration law. These people that come in here breaking the law, whether it's If you come here to work permit and you drive with a license insurance, you don't need to be here. You do not need to be here. Because if you don't respect our government, our roads, and you know that you're not supposed to be doing that, then you don't respect the country. You don't have to be here. We don't need your kind here. And we have to get serious about this thing. And one of the first things that, well, they better start talking about it now. This permanent residence, the first thing that needs to be straight off of that is if you own a piece of land, you get fines. That is a disaster to the next generation.
Yep.
It's a disaster. It's murder to them.
Yeah, that was workable at one time in our development, but certainly not now.
Oh, see.
In the early stages, maybe.
Oh, see, listen, man. You got gas, just selling now for $1,000 a pound, right? Listen, man. Good gas, just $1,000 a pound easy. A guy can come in here with 100 pound of gas, yeah? Sell that, buy a nice piece of land. That's the word he start. Look at that's the word he found, man. That's you know. It has to be taken off the board.
Yep.
In Canada, the same Canada is. You can't buy no land in Canada now, you know.
Yeah, they changed it. Yep. Okay.
Well, see, I got to tell you something. And I say it again, and it's not only Cayman Island, but most of the world, we the animals, we are the only type of animal that is being led by the dumbest of the herd. You hear what I say? And this guy, I tell him this to everybody, you know. And until, you see, we got politicians that thinking that the people that came here in the 80s that had in manners, they respect for us. It's a different breed of people we got coming in right now.
No question.
These people have no respect for nobody. Very few of them have respect for you. Yeah?
Okay.
And until we stand up and say, listen, if you can't behave in our country, look, don't come here.
Yeah. We have so many other options, we can do that. Elvis, I'm going to ask you to leave us there. We want to try to grab one more caller before we go to a commercial break. But, what you've said all makes sense. I agree with you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Also, we've been asked to send out birthday wishes to grandson Rashad Powery. Also to David Ebanks, celebrated their birthday on Sunday. And the birthday greetings are coming from Mr. Edmund McFeel and Miss Karen McFeel as well. So birthday greetings going out to Rashad Powery as well as Mr. David Ebanks. We're going to grab one more caller before we go to a commercial break, and I introduce my guest in the studio. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Connor.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good. One of your previous callers mentioned two things that I would like to comment on.
Okay.
And that is the mask and the cost of the road. Now, I share his concern in terms of the mask because it seems as if, for whatever reason, a lot of people are using it even casually. And I don't know the reason why they're doing that, but it is difficult after government have forced people for 2 years to wear masks to now go and say that you can't wear it when, from my recollection, is that the pandemic might be over, but COVID haven't been, it's still prevalent. So I don't know what direction a country would take in that regard. I know when they implemented the the wearing of masks, that could have been wrapped up in some form of regulation. I don't know how you would address that now in terms of balancing that with security issues, safety issues. But I think it is something that we should bend our minds around, because we also have a certain level of criminal activities within the community as well. You would want to get a handle on that, and the wearing of masks could throw a stick in the spoke.
Definitely, yeah.
Now, the second thing was the road, and the fact that it was mentioned that it would cost over $1 billion in the next 50 years.
Yep.
And I just don't take information as you get it, because my recollection tell me it was $1 billion that they used, not CI dollars.
Okay.
And then if my recollection is correct, what was the intent to use $1 billion? And there wasn't any clarification, or rather than later in the clipping that they said U.S., but out front they said $1 billion. Then what is the intent? I think the intent was to shock people and scare them out of the road program.
Shock and awe.
Yeah, and the reason why they want to shock them is one would have to chase the origin of the story and see if there was any ill intent in approaching it from that angle.
Thank you very much, caller. Minister Bryan, good morning. Deputy Premier, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to For the Record. We have 2 minutes before we go to a break, so you can introduce yourself. Of course, you need no introduction, but...
Thank you so much, OC, and good morning to your listening audience. Good morning, K-Man. What a way to start the show. That caller was so on point, that last caller there, about the shock and awe effect that there was trying to be made this morning. Funny enough, I intended to respond to the caller previously before the news in respect to suggesting that the road would cost $1 billion. And that the last caller, who I know well, is 100% correct. Is a deterrent. And then to say afterwards that it only save us 4 minutes, why spend all this money for only 4 minutes? When in fact, it's not only about traffic. It's about emergency access. It's also about inland accessibility to other lands that we can have for housing developments, with Kimayans having such difficulty buying property at a reasonable price. So it's about supply and demand, and the only way you can get more supply is if you have more road access to the land. And I'm not talking about swamp land either. And also the price point upon which that is being floated at $1 billion right now is on the basis of these obligations that have been heightened by those from an extreme perspective from the environment. And I say extreme because I love anybody who wants to protect the environment, but there's extreme positions, and they're made particularly to undermine the intent of the road.
And these are some of the requirements that they would want to have in place.
Correct.
If it were built.
Exactly. And I don't think it's a logical approach, in my humble opinion, on most of the extreme suggestions, like the bridgeways and so forth. But I'll leave that to the roads minister to respond. He wanted to be with me this morning, but had a meeting, and we'll be back on the show to talk more about that another time. OC, I know we have to go to a news break, so when we get back, I'll give the listening audience the plan of the show's agenda today.
Excellent. Folks, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, the conversation with Deputy Premier, Honorable Kenneth Bryan, will continue. Don't change that dial. We will be back shortly.
It's me again, that old girl, traveling everywhere with Cayman Airways. This time, I go in direct to Tampa because Tampa airfares are on sale. You know, it's been a long time and I seen Cousin Sally up in Tampa or Uncle Joe in Orlando, but I'm not sitting in the Orlando airport traffic. No, sir. If you go in Orlando, Cayman Airways via Tampa, still the best way to go. You can even book a car rental through them, you know. And I know one thing, I'm racking up all the Sir Turtle rewards miles I can get for even more trips this year.
For travel now through April 15th, call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to catch your Tampa seats on sale now through January 27th.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers, a compounding story.
I don't think people realize how pain creeps into your life. It has a way of robbing your strength. I really don't like taking prescription medication orally.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. They understand.
When it comes to compounded medication, it's personal. So whenever there's a problem with some medication or treatments that's not working right, then a physician will call me and say, hey, they're having bad side effects from this medication.
Compounding pain cream changed the game. Made special for me. Significant pain relief in the form of a cream. That is a new experience for me.
It's changed his life.
It worked.
Ask your pharmacist or healthcare provider about compounding at West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. Call 914-6449.
Social media, X, formerly Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Interact with our talk shows on YouTube. Download our official Radio Cayman app, or you can log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky. You can also add us to WhatsApp
on 925-3261.
All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Radio Cayman. This is For the Record.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Deputy Premier, the Honorable Kenneth Bryan. Ms. Susan, there's a voice note as well. You may want to check that in the meantime. Minister, good morning.
Good morning again.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me on today, and I hope everybody is having a blessed morning thus far. Brand new week, fresh week. I think we all won the lottery today by just having the opportunity to open our eyes.
Yep.
So I hope that today goes well. Today I plan to speak about a number of topics, but before I do that, I want to send my sympathies out to a number of families who, since my last opportunity on the radio, we have lost, particularly in my constituency. Yes. Just this weekend, we had to give Thanksgiving service for one of our legends in our community, Mr. Maxwell Seymour. And on behalf of the family, I want to say thank you to all those persons who came and paid respect. Also, Mr. George McLean,
yes.
Who passed away, also another one of my constituents, a great man. And also Mr. Ashley Ramon, another one of my constituents. I just send my hearts and prayers out to all the family members. Also some notable persons that are part of my portfolio, Mr. Don Foster, who passed away, who was a key contributor to the tourism industry, and another well-known Georgetowner, Mr. Charles Watler. So my hearts and prayers go out to the family. Moving on now to the topics of the day, Mr. Connor, I plan to talk about how I will be running in the next election. Without specifics, I do want to hear from my people of Georgetown Central. We know that this election is going to be a little bit different than the last. The environment as to parties, independents, groups, and so forth. There is a solid swing in respect to approach to that, and myself, on behalf of the people of Georgetown Central, need to make some decisions, and I don't do that without consultation with my good people of Georgetown Central. So in respect to what the next best steps are, if my people of Georgetown Central have a question or a concern or a thought and want to call in the radio, I'll be pleased to hear from you. The next things that I want to talk about is the referendum bill, which is these next set of bills will be things that come into Parliament on the 31st of this month, which is the last sitting of Parliament. And those bills that are coming, if they are successful through the business committee, which dictates what goes on the agenda of the sitting of the House, the bills are the referendum bill, which has the 3 questions, and we'll go into further discussion later. The Customs and Border Control Bill, Amendment Bill, the Beneficial Ownership Transparency Bill, the National Conservation Amendment Bill, the Anti-Sexual Harassment Bill, and there's some other Grand Court and Criminal Procedure Court procedure amendment bills, but those are minor in nature, and I'll just summarize over them. And lastly, at the end, I intend to make an announcement in respect to the seamen and poor persons relief benefits. So stay tuned to the show. So, OC, speaking directly about the first one, which is how I intend to run in the next election, as I said, I'll be taking direction from the good people of Georgetown Central. And this is not supposed to be a political show today. It's more about my duties as the Deputy Premier. But I'm having some trouble, and I was hoping that you can help me with the analysis. What is the difference between a group and a party in the Cayman Islands? Because this is one of the major questions, whether we should go to party systems or the independents or groupings. And the reason I say that is because I find that the lack of development and maturity within the political structure in the Cayman Islands is why many people are not in parties. And then I see, 2 other new parties being established. And as far as I was aware, I thought that when you join a party, you had to be nominated and elected by members of the party in order for you to be a part of a constituency.
Well, that was one of the questions that I had in terms of whether or not it is just a party of persons seeking to be elected, or whether it's a party that has developed from the grassroots, from the people, and what is the membership all about?
Correct, and because you have persons announcing that they're running with a party with no election process. So again, this is where I question, while I'm assessing it myself in respect to what I'm going to do on behalf of the good people of Georgetown Central, is I'm starting to feel that these parties are just groups of people who've dictated and just calling themselves a party. And it's no different than a group of people coming together, because if myself, the Honorable J.E. Banks, and other members of the current government get together and say, I'm going to register something as a party, is that a party? Because a party goes through certain principles.
It's all in the details.
It's all in the details, right? So I think it's just a glorified group of persons dictating who they want, because parties actually are dictated to by the constituents or the districts upon which they're running. And none of these members thus far, I don't remember having in their constituency runoffs or so forth. I'm finding it troubling that you if you're going to say that you're a party, be honest about it, and don't be. I find it disingenuous, is what I'm saying. Not saying that they're not good people. It's not my place to say that. That's for the constituency upon which they're in. But if we're talking about the maturity of our democracy, let's be honest about what we're doing, because paperwork is just what it is. It's just a name, a label to say officially a party, because of the PR of things, to say, oh, you have to be with a party. And I'm not saying parties are terribly bad. I think the country is yearning for more organized politics. But don't try to be deceitful for the people, because organized politics in its true sense from a party perspective is quite similar to what the United Democratic Party did and the Progressives did, where the Honorable Kirk Tibbetts grew the party from the base, from the ground up, where you got memberships from within your districts and your constituency, and they dictate who they want to run. What we have is a group of people with a lot of money saying, I'm going to pick who I want to run. And that's the same thing we're dealing with today, and we've been dealing with for the last 2 terms. So please don't be deceitful with our people, because it's not actually the people deciding who they want to run in whichever district. Say, for example, and I'll wrap it up like this. If you have a party, shouldn't I be able to join that party and say, I want to be nominated? But you've already selected the persons who are going to run in that area. I give credit to the Progressives, because they're planning to have a district council where they'll have the formal process upon which those persons, and you'll hear them use terminologies like the intended candidate or hoped candidate for this area, because they understand the true nature of a party system whereby they're obligated to go through the process. The other ones are saying, this is the person we're going to run. Who dictated that?
Who determined?
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I just wanted to put that in perspective.
No, that's a very valid point, and I asked the same questions as well. What is this?
If they start out with that start off that way and being disingenuous about it, then I'm not sure if I can believe much more than that. Because I myself, I genuinely, as a person, as Kenneth Bryan, who works on behalf of the people of this country, I genuinely have to look at myself and say, okay, what am I going to do? What does a party mean? Does it bring good structure? Does it bring unity? And the further I look, I notice all a facade is what it is. It's just, and the only one that really has the true credibility out there is the progressives at this point. I'm not suggesting anything, but the rest of it is just a grouping, and they've gone and done the legal work of registering it. I mean, you have people who are leaders of the party as well as the chairman of the party. How can you be the leader of the party and the chairman of the party? That's a conflict of interest. But again, let me get off of that. So, Box, should I go into my next topic? Or
yeah. We have about 4 minutes.
So, obviously, one of the big things on the agenda in the sitting of the House is the referendum bill, upon which the country should be able to get the opportunity to vote on on 3 questions. And this part is just a formality of the referendum, but a very essential formality, because without this bill, you can't have one. The Constitution mandates that under Section 69 of the Constitution provides that the law has to be enacted by the legislature. When this law was written, it was called the legislature. It's now called the Parliament, to provide for holding of a referendum amongst persons registered as electors in accordance with Section 90 of the Constitution on matters of national importance, when resolved by the majority of elected members of Parliament. What that means is once you've passed a motion in Parliament, you can have a referendum. And 2 motions with 3 topics has been completed in this term. One just recently last year with the cruise birthing referendum, where it had unanimous support of Parliament. And then the other 2, when the former Premier Wayne Panton brought the motion to support the other 2. So the Honorable Wayne Panton brought the motion with his government at the time to introduce a national lottery and also to decriminalize, again I say decriminalize, the consumption and possession of small amounts of cannabis. Now, even though some people are going and spreading rumors on the government that we're going to legalize marijuana, that is not true at all. And I will speak a little bit more about that later on. But this bill itself is giving the legality to the elections officials to hold a referendum. So the Constitution mandates you have to pass the motion. Those are passed. And now that they're passed, we know what the questions are or what the topics are. You create a bill. And that bill then gives the power to the elections office to be implemented.
So question there. Do you believe that this has, if not the full support of Parliament, the support of enough members for it to pass?
I would like to think so, unless they've changed their mind. But I know that there's a lot of members of Parliament now have been flip-flopping. So, I mean, I think at the very least, the country should be able to have the opportunity to see their position. If they've changed it, why? That's transparency. You have a right to change your mind, and I support that. Just give good logical reasons. I wasn't a big proponent of the cruise birthing when I was in opposition. I publicly got up, gave my reasons why. Only a dead man and a fool can't do that. But you can't just do it without explanation. You are a public figure and you act on behalf of the people. You have to explain. So there is 3 questions that will be on the referendum bill if successful in Parliament. And as per this bill right now, which is out for public consultation, by the way, so the public have access to it. If you want to go down to the Parliament or to go onto the Parliament website, they have been gazetted and you can read it for yourself. The 3 questions for the public to ask or be asked is: 1, should the Cayman Islands develop cruise berthing infrastructure? Question number 1. Question number 2, do you support the introduction of a national lottery in the Cayman Islands? And question number 3, do you support the decriminalization of the consumption and possession of small amounts of cannabis? In the bill, it also has the layout of the ballot, how the ballot will look. Meaning, some people go, well, how is it going to be? Am I going to go into a different booth, or going to have to go do it twice, or what have you? I'm happy to say that under the current structure, our proposed structure, it will be one simple ballot. So you get to vote for your elected member, or the person you want to represent you, and just below that, there's another subsection on the same ballot where the 3 questions would be listed one after the other. And obviously, the cameras won't allow me to show in detail how the ballot looks. But in the draft bill, which again you can find on the Parliament website, because it's been gazetted for the public to see, you can see the list of the questions, and it's pretty straightforward. Just ask the question. There's 2 lines below. They ask the question, and yes or no, and you tick yes or no. And you don't have to be in support of any of these. The purpose of this is to get the public's feedback on these topics.
So it's an advisory. So we're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, you can explain to our audience, what this is all about in terms of just advice. Nothing is binding.
Correct.
Okay, folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Accidents and illnesses can strike without warning. Ouch! When it comes to urgent care, every second counts. At Doctors Hospital, we have a dedicated team of experienced doctors and nursing staff available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't waste time in an overcrowded emergency room when you need urgent care. Whether it's a broken bone, a severe infection, or a sudden illness, trust in Doctors Hospital's unwavering dedication to providing the best immediate care. For complete urgent care when you need it the most, choose Doctors Hospital, located in Georgetown, 16 Middle Road.
Your dream home starts with a vision, and often inspiration is at the heart of that vision. Brand Source Home Gallery's in-house designers are here to help bring your vision to life. Whether you're remodeling or building a new home, Brand Source Home Gallery is your one-stop solution. Explore their kitchen cabinets, sinks, faucets, bath fixtures, tubs, vanities, and more. Let Brand Source's designers help and inspire you with your next project. Call 623-5000 and schedule an appointment with a design expert at Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, serving Cayman for 50 years.
It's me again, that old girl, traveling everywhere with Cayman Airways. This time, I go in direct to Tampa because Tampa airfares are on sale. It's been a long time and I seen Cousin Sally up in Tampa or Uncle Joe in Orlando, but I'm not sitting in the Orlando airport traffic, no sir. If you go in Orlando, Cayman Airways via Tampa, still the best way to go. You can even book a car rental through them, And I know one thing, I'm racking up all the Sir Turtle rewards miles I can get for even more trips this year.
For travel now through April 15th, call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to catch your Tampa seats on sale now through January 27th.
The 2025 National Heroes Day Awards takes place on Monday, January 27th at 9 a.m. in the historic Heroes Square. Celebrate the icons of business and entrepreneurship within the Cayman Islands and honor our past nation builders. Wear your ceremonial best and come out to Heroes Square on Monday, January 27th at 9 a.m.
With Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. My pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning the Deputy Premier, Honorable Kenneth Bryan. He's talking about the bills that will be going to Parliament, which will probably be the last sitting.
Correct. Definitely will be the last sitting of Parliament, unless there's an emergency of some sort. That's the indication of the Honorable Premier. So this last sitting is going to be essential for anything that can be completed in this term. While saying that, interestingly enough, there is a bit of controversy around a number of these bills because of the word controversial. As you know, this is a minority government. After the departure of 4 members of the government, 3 ministers and 1 backbencher. As a result, due to the nature, even though they were calling for an early election, the opposition, the official opposition, as well as the government, as well as the governor, said in the best interest of stability, as well as fair opportunity for persons to get registered, because if we had an early election, there would have been some over 3,000 persons disenfranchised from voting, which I don't think those 4 members who left considered when they made their decision, or when they were calling for an early election. I don't think that was their intent. I think it was just a mishap on not being been in government long enough to understand the actions upon which they did. So I think they obviously have expressed the reasons why they left, and but thankfully we continued and created stability and continued the country's running. Now, as a result of that, part of the agreement from doing that is not to bring any controversial bills. Now, that's a very subjective view, because in my humble opinion, this notion that a government should not bring a controversial bill is flawed. And why I say that is because it's not the government that is passing it. The government of the day is the executive of the country. The Parliament is a separate entity than the executive. It's the Parliament that passes legislation. So if I bring a piece of legislation that says everybody gets a holiday on Wednesday every week, then I don't pass it because I'm an executive. I have to take it to Parliament. And if you think it's a horrible idea, you vote against it. So for the opposition to say that they would not allow a bill to come to the floor of the House for discussion, analysis, filtering, so you can see the pros and cons and the country can hear both sides, I don't think it's because it's controversial. I think it's because they don't want the public to hear the fruits and the merits, the pros and the cons of such a bill. And I think that's disappointing, to be honest with you, because I've now seen utterances by both sides, the official opposition, as well as the other members who left, who have only indication I've gotten is the Honorable Member Andre Ebanks speaks on their behalf. And I would suspect that that's the case now, because the official party, again, I say that loosely, has indicated that that's their leader. So I'm assuming that they speak on their behalf. I've tried to ask the other members directly, does Andre speak on your behalf? Because they are not the official opposition, so I can't take that in its official capacity. But they won't answer the question. And I think that's because specific members of that group are well aware if they are known to be stopping the referendum and the effects on it, on their constituency, they would be called out.
So it's one thing to support a piece of legislation. It's another thing just to allow the bill to move forward, because like you said, at the end of the day, they either vote for it or vote against it. But just to oppose it, being brought to the Parliament, you don't agree with that?
I don't agree with that at all, because I don't think that is fair. I don't think it's democratic, and there should be no reason why you're not prepared to allow the public to hear the pros and cons. Matter of fact, I would think that if you're that confident that it's a terrible thing that the government is doing, allow the government to come present their silliness. If that's what they're going to do, if it's so terrible. I think the opposite. I think they don't want anybody to see it because they're playing both sides of the coin. And I'll explain that a little bit further. So ultimately, the risk that is at hand is that these pieces of legislation that we're going to go through further today are at risk of not getting to Parliament, because there's an essential process that needs to happen that most people don't recognize, which is when a draft bill is approved by Cabinet, it's sent to Parliament for debate. And most people go, okay, when it comes to the floor of the House, you'll see everything. What we have now, which most people don't normally see, is the process where the Business Committee has to meet to decide what things come on the agenda for discussion. And that Business Committee is formulated. I know some people know this and some people don't, so it's important I take the time to explain. The Business Committee is made up of 6 individuals, 4 from the government side and 2 from the opposition. The government should always have the majority.
Right.
Unfortunately, one of those members who was on that committee has now left, the Honorable Andre Ebanks. So now the scales have flipped, because it's now 3-3. But on the government side, one of the government members has to be the chairperson. And that chairperson does not vote unless there is a tie. So ultimately, what this means is, and just to give you a true picture of the committee, is the Honorable Premier, who who is the chairperson, and those left over is myself, Deputy Premier, the Honourable Minister J.E. Banks, the Honourable Leader of Opposition, the Honourable Member Roy McTaggart, and the Honourable Member Andre E. Banks. So at this point, myself and the Honourable Minister J.E. Banks are on the government side who have a vote, and the other 3 members are on the opposite side. And the Honourable Leader of Opposition and Andre E. Banks have publicly said they will not support the referendum to be on the agenda, which ultimately does not give the people the opportunity to hear the pros and cons of a number of other bills, which we'll get into later. It's a quagmire that we're in because ideally Andre should not be on the business committee, but because a minority government, you need Parliament to decide who's on the business committee. If you don't have the majority, you can't remove him.
So he was originally on the committee by virtue of his position?
Correct.
Okay.
Ideally, he's supposed to. I tried to look at my Erskine May to see where there could be conventions about this, but this has never happened before. So ultimately, he's supposed to be voting in favor with the government. So I don't know what to do in that respect, but we are at that point where they have the right to stop the country from, at the very least, having the opportunity to have their say. And I really hope that they do not do that, because there's a lot of people who want to hear, at the very least, hear the discussion or have the opportunity to have their say on these 3 matters. But that's only to do with the referendum bill. There's a number of other bills, say, for example, the anti-sexual harassment bill, the National Conservation Bill, the Beneficial Ownership Bill, Customs and Border Control Amendment Bill, and obviously the referendum one I just heard. So who decides what is controversial? And that's my point. My point is I don't think any of them are controversial, because the context upon which their position is held is the government as a minority government should not bring controversial bills. And I think that's oxymoronic. I don't think it makes any difference whether you're a minority or a full government, because it's the Parliament that decides whether these things happen. So I think that's an excuse. And I go now to the answer as to what I was talking about flip-flopping. Here's the issue, particularly when it comes to cruise. And it could be similarly for some other bills here. The cruise berthing facility is controversial. It's been a sensitive issue for some time. And that's why the public should have their say. You have the cruise CPR group, Cruise Port Referendum Group, who's against it. I don't know if they've changed their position or not, but they presented that they're against it before. Then you have the ACT group, who's for it. And both sides have a strong following one way or the other. And I don't think they wanted to get to the Parliament because they don't want, they're in talks with both sides saying, I'm in favor of the cruise, and then they say the other side, oh, I'm against it, to try to get political support from both sides. And it's what the former premier used to say, it's the epitome of riding the fence. I know that game very well. I used to do it when I was in opposition. If you go back to the Hansards, you'll see Sir Alden McLaughlin say, the infamous fence rider, the honourable member from Georgetown Central. So I know the game, and I think that it's important that I tell the public what is at play. Because if you are truly concerned about the people's viewpoint, you would allow the information to be presented to them so they can see for themselves. Like, I don't want somebody just giving me their viewpoint alone. I want to see the other side. And that takes me now to the National Conservation Bill, which is something, again, very sensitive for many. And I before I go into that, let's go to the break, and then I can come back and talk about that.
We're going to go to the top of the hour, our headline news. When we return, conversation with Deputy Premier, Honorable Kenneth Bryan. We're going to be talking about the National Conservation Bill as well. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Radio station. Radio Cayman is the voice of the Cayman Islands. From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines. Local, regional, international news.
The Headline News is brought to you by Kirk Market and Health Services Authority.
With a look at your latest headlines, I'm Jevi Ebanks. The murder trial of Anastasio Rankin and Roland Welcome is set to continue today. The men who denied the charges are entering the second week of an anticipated 3-week trial. They are accused of planning and coordinating the December 2023 shooting in East End, which resulted in the death of Hon.Kenneth, who was shot while home alone. The jury of 12 will continue to hear the prosecution's case, which includes an anonymous witness who claims to have seen the man in a group only minutes before the incident, which prosecutors described as a hail of bullets. The case will resume at 10 a.m. in the main court building. In regional news, in Dominica, police are investigating gunshots fired at the vehicle of Calypsonian Nareen trendsetter Murphy early on Sunday morning. Murphy, unharmed, said in a Facebook post that the incident was a cowardly act to intimidate him, but that it made him stronger and more resolute. He expressed gratitude for the support following the incident. Police urge anyone with information to come forward. The incident took place at Murphy's home in Jimmet. Police in Guyana have arrested 28-year-old Kareem Prince in connection with the death of his brother, Akeem Prince, following an altercation early Sunday morning. The incident occurred at their shared residence on the east coast of Damaria. According to a police statement, an argument between the brothers led to Kareem allegedly delivering fatal chops to Hakeem's head. That is your latest headlines. I'm Jevi Ebanks.
Radio Cayman. More news available at www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
Do you have a healthcare question but not sure who to ask? Contact HSA's Patient Call Center to speak to one of our experienced clinical team members. We are here to answer your questions and help guide you through your healthcare journey. Need to make an appointment? Our team can help. Contact HSA at 949-8600 or email info@hsa.ky. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. It is my pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning Deputy Premier, the Honorable Kenneth Bryan, talking about various subjects. We're on a topic now of those bills that will be going to Parliament at its next sitting. Mr. Bryan?
Thank you, Mr. Connor, and thank you to the listening audience for tuning in and staying on. Before we went to the break, we were just talking about the other bill, one of the other bills that will be hoping to get to the floor of the House. It's the National Conservation Amendment Bill. Now, the natural reaction that those who oppose any amendments to this bill has tried to paint to all Cayman is this idea that the government of the day, and there's special people who want to gut the National Conservation Bill to make it that we cannot protect our environment anymore. I want to categorically say, for those who believe and trust in the process of working for them, that is ultimately not true. It's disingenuous, and this is one of the main reasons why they don't want this bill to make it to the floor of the House, because then the truth of what the bill actually intends to do will come out, because they've painted a picture right here on this show that, how the government and the developers will all be here to gut the environment and what it will do and what it won't do, rather than going, okay, if that is a fact, if that is what the government is so horribly trying to do, let it get to the floor of the House where transparency reigns, where everybody can talk about it and we can look at every word, every letter of this bill so we can speak about it. But that's not their intent. Again, being very disingenuous. The truth is, this bill is not about developers versus the environment. This bill is about good governance. What you have is stuff like changing and not allowing the director of environment to vote. She's a public servant. She shouldn't be voting on the National Conservation Council. It changes that. It also allows for an appeals tribunal for proper governing processes. If there's something that somebody is not happy with, they can appeal to a tribunal body. Another part of it is, let me see, the mandate for environmental impact assessments that the council can deal with. The other part is that entities like planning, which we've seen, planning and DOE, suing each other in court. Mine now, we're suing one another, and whoever wins is going to be the people's money got spent for it. The lawyers and all of this stuff. You cannot do that without permission from the Attorney General. And that's how it always has been. But for some reason or another, it was missed in the draft in the original bill, which ultimately, what I remember now from the Hansards, had over 30 odd amendments to that previous bill. So it wasn't a perfect bill in the first place. And no bill is. You have to make a piece of legislation come into play. You see the nuances and you figure out what things can be tweaked. And that's what this is. This is a tweaking process for proper governance procedures. But they don't want that to come to Parliament because they'll see that that's what it is. Sorry.
So what do you say then to those people who believe that these changes to the National Conservation Act are designed to make it easier for the government to put through the East-West Arterial?
And something's wrong with that? We were sitting here pretending as if to say, to make the process easier, to take people out of traffic, to make the process easier, to get them to more accessible land for housing, to make it easier for us to have an emergency roadway in the event of a storm or an accident is a problem. The truth is, what we have is persons with extreme views who are trying to use an inadequate government piece of legislation that is weighed too much to one side to stop something that is important for the people. And this is to bring better balance to that process. The truth of the matter is, if the government of the day, the people's elected arm, again, all 19 members can vote on it, decides to say, this is of a national importance for this country because of the various problems that the people are being affected by, the road needs to go through. Nobody has ever said we should not consider the environment. But you see this morning as an example, somebody calls in to say, oh, the road is going to be $1 billion for 4 minutes of relief in traffic. Again, you see the tactic, the PR tactic they're using. The truth is, like the caller said, the second caller came in and said, well, actually, it wasn't $1 billion. It was $1 billion US dollars. And also, it's not only about 4 minutes savings in time. And I don't know who gave you that. I don't know who made that decision to say it was 4 minutes in saving in time in traffic, because I don't believe that. But hypothetically speaking, it's not only about saving you in traffic. So you can see that there's an intended move here. For whatever reason, why are people opposing the opportunity for the road? Again, using a piece of legislation that is slanted too much to one angle, and this bill will start to make it more balanced on behalf of the people.
Okay, we have a caller. We're going to take that caller, and one of our listeners also wanted to know whether or not a person can vote for either of the three questions on the referendum bill, or if you have to vote for all of them. You may decide that, I want to vote on the cruise fare part of it, but not necessarily the decriminalization part.
Simple answer to that. You choose whichever one you want. You don't have to vote on any. You can vote on only one. You can vote no to all of them. You can vote yes to all of them. However you feel fit. It is your choice to do.
Precisely. Okay, let's grab the caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hello, good morning, Mr. Connor, and good morning, Mr. Bryan.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I just actually have a statement to make. Kenneth, I want to tell you thank you for having the conversation about the conservation bill. Thank you for at least trying to explain it to the people so they understand that it's not this thing that the headlines had portrayed to be, that government trying to gut the conservation bill. And I think that in the future, if we were to take the approach where we try to explain some of the things that we want to do before we implement them, or try to implement them, people will have a better opportunity in order to weigh in. But I know that a lot of people who are listening didn't know that the conservation bill had some of the issues that you guys trying to amend. Regardless of who are the people trying to amend it, you're going to always be painted as the bad guy because, you got people on both sides trying to portray whatever. But at the end of the day, I think information is key, and knowing why you're making the amendments and understanding the impacts of making them or not making them is what's important. And I think that's what people need to focus on. And last, but certainly not least, I don't know for the life of me why they would rather build bridges over areas along the east-west arteria going north, as opposed to building the road on the least impacted areas so that we can have that road. And you see a lot of people talking about traffic. I know one thing for sure is that a couple of weeks ago they had some road work going on in the northward area, and I was coming from north side, and it took me almost an hour and 45 minutes to get down. So God forbid that there was an emergency and somebody had to be picked up or dropped off by ambulance, they would have never made it because we don't have an alternative route. One lane going east from spots is absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, that's my opinion. Thank you for having the conversation, Kenneth. We need to understand it better, and people would never understand it if you guys don't talk about it.
Thank you so much, caller. I agree with you wholeheartedly. One of the things I continue to accept in failing is that we lack in communication within our administration. We need to speak to the people more. I try my best to do as often as I possibly can on various different platforms. But this is ultimately what they are trying to stop, which is the information to be presented to the people. Because this notion that something is controversial, therefore it shouldn't be even discussed, is ludicrous. And again, I say it's because they're playing both sides. As per the referendum on the cruise berthing situation, quite similarly with this, because here's what we have. Will this give a better balance? Yes, it will. It's about good governance. And then you have developers out there, no doubt that they're there and they want opportunity to not be forced by the extreme environmentalists. So they want the necessary changes because there's some parts in this that protects property. Right now, it's extreme on being able to, basically make your property invaluable. And I'll explain that hopefully a little bit better, or even in the opportunity on the floor of the house. I know we got a call. I just want to get this last point out. I lost my frame of thought there now. Sorry. But the point is, the developers. So there are people who want this to be changed. And again, they're playing the game. And I know it because I've heard them talk to them. So they're playing with the environment and those people who really don't want this change. And I'll be honest with you, those who don't want to see any changes, the truth is they're playing you just as much as they're playing everybody else. Because they go in another silent room and say, boy, we really want to change it, and we'll change it when we get elected. But the changes that they're presenting now they're not the right changes. Let me get elected and then I'll change it for you. Or they'll say, look at what I'm doing, I'm stopping it. Rather than, okay, if it is so terrible, let us all sit in front of the people on national television for the Hansard record to show what we did or didn't do. And then you can get up and show, look at how bad the government is. You know why they won't allow this to get to the floor of the House? Because they cannot do that. Because the truth of what these amendments are is about good governance and balance for all. Okay. So I know we have a caller.
And I'm going to get you to explain again at some point in time the business committee and why you feel that it's not going to get there. Also, before we grab the caller, one of our listeners wrote and say, what is the reason the director of the environment would need to be taken off? Being a civil servant seems like saying civil servant.
Let's correct that right away. She's not being taken off.
Yeah,
she's not taken off. So
to vote. Yeah.
Yes. So let me just read it because I like to deal with things right away. Right. So page 8, and I encourage those persons who want to know more about this is to go ahead and to the Parliament website and look for the bill. The amendment clause 5 says, amending section 6, functions of the director, says the principal act is amended in section 6.1 by repealing paragraph B and substituting the following paragraph. B, act as the secretary for the council. So she's not being removed. She's just removing her voting process. She shouldn't be voting in the first place. So she will be the secretary. She'll be the one that knows every single thing about what's going on, and she will have a clear eye on everything that the council does. So again, flawed information, and they're selling it as if to say that we're taking them off. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, we have about 4 callers. We're gonna and one WhatsApp caller as well. We're gonna ask each caller to please be as brief as possible. First caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I want to commend the government for those changes to the National Conservation Act bill.
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe that is long overdue. Secondly, I'm wondering why is it we at this point where the government had to is seeking a referendum? Why is it was there another approach? We're talking about government supposed to be governing. Why didn't you approach it another way where you go ahead and develop a plan of action for the port, present it to Parliament, and let Parliament debate it? Because once you get this referendum through, and let's take the scenario that it's approved, then what? We're going to have another referendum for the location, and then another referendum for everything? Mm-hmm. It's my question.
All right, well, let's answer that right away. I thank you so much, caller, for the question. I personally believe this the most sensitive thing about this and is whether we want a cruise pier or not. Not where it is, how much it's going to cost, and the environmental impact. Let's just decide whether we want to be in cruise business or not. Once we establish that, then what you call the lower sensitivity questions about where it should be and all those things, then you can leave that in the hands of the people. Because whether we have a pier or not is actually deciding whether you want to stay in cruise or not. Because without a pier, as your Minister for Tourism, and what I've seen, what I've examined, what the numbers say is that if we do not build a cruise pier, the cruise industry will come down to nil. I mean, not functional, and thousands of people will lose jobs, and many businesses will close down. And I'm not trying to sugarcoat it anymore, because it's a simple truth. If I tell you, if I project and I see that in 10 years there's a train that is coming and it's going to hit us directly on, and I don't advise you as the person who understands that and don't tell you to move your car off the tracks, I'll be nil in my duties to you. I would not be doing what I'm elected to do on your behalf. As I was saying at the chamber forum the other day, this cruise situation, for those who benefited, is actually mainly in West Bay. West Bay has the highest concentration of persons who depend on the cruise industry. By all means, there's some in Georgetown Central. But I recall my colleagues saying to me, Kenneth, why not colleagues, my advisors saying, Kenneth, don't push this issue. It's not good for you. You don't have a lot of people in your constituency who depend on cruise, so you're taking on a battle unnecessarily. And I said, it's not about just Kenneth. It's about the country as a whole. It's the second part of the second pillar of our economy, being tourism, and cruise is a major component of that. And now that I understand fully and better the importance of it, and I understand it's going to be negatively affected to the point of drastic measures, I'm obligated to say to the people, here's the facts, you choose. Now, if you choose not to, then we're going to have to plan for that fallout. But that's the facts.
Okay, let's grab the next caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning for Mr. For the Record.
Good morning, Doc.
Good morning to the Deputy Premier and MP for Georgetown Central.
Thank you so much, Dr. McPhail, and happy belated birthday again. May the Lord continue to bless you with many more, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I think so. I think the Lord has blessed me with some more.
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to take advantage of them too.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, firstly, I just can't be quick. Firstly, Mr. Bryan, MP Bryan, one of the faults of the government, and not only your government, but many governments, is that they do not go out to the people and sell their policy and their program to the people.
Agreed.
They do it on the radio, and they do it in Parliament. You have to go to the communities and sell these things to the people.
Agreed.
If the government had gone out and explained to people the whole rigmarole between the East-West arterial, you would be in this mess today.
True.
Secondly, I did a paper. I haven't published it, and I haven't given it to the minister, Mr. J. Ebanks. The government did not have to go through all this to be able to get the arterial road through. They did not have to. They did not have to amend any conservation law or anything like that. There's something in the Constitution called for the peace, order, and good government of the country. It's a residual clause. The government has it in the Constitution, and the king has it. It says that there is reserved for His Majesty the power to make laws for the peace, order, and good governance of the Cayman Islands. And then it says in another section, there is reserved to the government, to the cabinet or the government, the power to make laws for the peace, order, and good governance of the Cayman Islands. Now, to be able to, and when you invoke that clause, it cannot be questioned in any court of law. It cannot be questioned in any court of law, and that clause allows the government to do anything that the government think is a national priority. It does not have if it's just a district community priority for Georgetown or West Bay or East End. It would be invalid. It has to be affecting the whole country. And the national and the East-West Arterial Way is a road that affects the whole country. It affects people moving up and down, goods and services. It affects school children. It affects everybody. It affects every facet of the country. And so the government would not have any problem invoking the peace, order, and good government clause to get that done. Just recently, in Belize, the government invoked that clause to take over a utility company who was not, their services was not in the best interest of the Belizean people. Okay, that's number one. Number two is that these political parties, I've tried to ask the group that came out firstly a couple of weeks ago about their political parties. I asked them what was their ideology. I didn't get an answer. And then somebody started attacking me, saying that we're criticizing them because they put up political party. I'm not criticizing. I'm a part. The whole Westminster system is a party system, and I just want to know if you or any of the other people know how the party system started in the UK, how it developed, why it started, and how it developed in the UK, and how the party system started in 1938 in Jamaica. You know, the party system in Jamaica started out of better salary for the workers loading the bananas and sugar and so forth.
Common causes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the whole labor, it started. It started with protecting the workers and giving them better salary and better working conditions. That was the JLP, and the PMP started with the cousin Norman Manley, the intellectuals for more autonomy for Jamaica. They were the party who wanted full internal self-government. That's how it started in 1938. That's the difference between them. I know how the party started in Canada because I have a degree in political science, and I know how the party started and stuff. I have never seen parties that started with a few individuals, and then when I asked them, I said, "Well, where's the party manifesto? How am I going to be? How can I become a member? How can I become a member?"
Yep.
We had in the 1960s we had two political parties: the Christian Democrats and the National Democrats. Mr. Orrett was the president of the Christian National Democrats, and that party had 1,900 card-carrying party members. And then I asked them, "Well, are you gonna have the ballots that you vote for altered to say that you're voting for a party? Because how are you gonna know whether your party got a majority in the election or not? You know, a party is not just a few people who got together. A party comes from some sort of means, ideology, some sort of movement, some sort of thing, and that it comes from the grassroots. It comes from everybody.
Yes, sir.
You know, I want to know who's going to be who's the chairman of the party, who's the executive, so forth and so forth and so forth. Because I want to know if it's a party that coincides with my idea, with my thinking, so I can join, become a member, and have a say and how the party runs and so forth.
Yep. Doc, thank you very much for that. Let's grab another caller before we go to a commercial break. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Ossie.
Yeah, hey, good morning.
And good morning to the Honorable Deputy Leader.
Good morning, Mr. Graham. How you doing, sir?
Alden is sir. Not
Lord Graham, sorry. Good morning, Lord Graham.
I don't want to get Alden upset with me.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah. Thank you to Mr. Deputy Leader for coming on and explaining. It would be nice if we could have more people come on and explain to us. But if the changes in the conservation law is for the best interests of the Cayman people as we know them, I do support it. And I don't know why he would let me on after Dr. McFeel, and he should let me on before because he was in legal terms now. I don't know if I can match all that. But it sounds like the way he explained to the whole scenario is that is happening now is that they're not parties who are just a bunch of people who get together who are disenchanted with the group or the groups that have been in before, and they think that they can make changes but not being a party. And for what I'm seeing and what have happened in the past, the same things that happened before can happen again, where as soon as you get in and you get power and one individual or two individuals don't get exactly what they want or they're a little selfish, then that group, not being a constitutional party, can just pick up and walk away and give up your collective responsibility, which is not good for the country, right? We're looking like a bunch of we can't even say Banana Republic because Banana Republic countries once one party get in power, they stay in power for donkey years, you know. So also touching on the I don't want to rain on your parade, but the referendum, I'm not too happy about voting in any referendum because we all know that we need to do something about cruise tourism. If we're not going to do something about it, just tell the ships they cannot come to these shores because it don't look good and it's not a great experience for those people to be lined up out there from Small Dock, we call Small Dock, all the way down past Royal Watler, trying to get on a tender that is parked by the little strip of dock right there. Even if we would enhance and fix it where 10 tenders can be there one time, that they just come bam, 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 and they all walk on all at the same time. But for them to be lined up in that hot sun and getting off a big old ship onto a smaller ship, some of the boats are way down past the graveyard, Dixie Graveyard, and got to travel all the way up to come and offload the people. That's not a great experience, and that's not a tourist product that we want to sell. If we cannot do it the right way, let's not do it at all. My grandmother said, you don't do it the right way, don't do it. Okay, so we need to look into that. So this referendum thing, I'm not sure I can vote in that. I voted for you guys to run the country. And if you think we need a dock, build a dock. And if you got to vote you out because you never build it right, then we got to vote you out. But build the dock, they'll do whatever we elect you. Then what are we going to do? Come back and say, oh, if it don't go right, I'm going to say, oh, well, you the people vote for it. No. We elect you all. You all run chasing us, giving us perks, all kind of thing. Well, not talking no more, it getting a hen. Telling us, put on the end, on the know what good for us. Okay, all right. On the end, do it. Nike say, just do it.
Just do it.
Do whatever's necessary. If we got build a road, we build a road. We build a road.
Well, what do you think about the national lottery then? I mean, because it's not only one question in the referendum. That's the other thing, which is.
But national lottery. Yeah, I into Yeah, I say I don't know. I'd support casinos, but natives couldn't gamble. You got to take all the money from the foreigners that come.
Well, the point is here is to give the people an opportunity. Sorry.
But will it be regulated and run by a government entity, or how would that be?
Well, the purpose of the referendum is to get past the first initial stages of the want and the will or the acceptance of the people. Mm-hmm. And then it's for the next government to decide how they will implement that, because you can do it from a private sector perspective and government just get the revenue, or the government can implement it by creating authority where those revenues can go towards healthcare or school or education or roads or what have you. But my point here is these questions are not necessarily to dictate to the government what to do specifically, but more to give them a guiding principles of what is willing to accept. Because bearing in mind, like for example, the National Lottery, we come from a Christian heritage foundation. Have our appetite for a National Lottery change or towards gaming? Because the truth is, it's against the law, but if you look around, every single person does it. Like if they don't do it locally, they'll say, "Oh well, I buy my lottery when I go Miami," right? And then you have raffle tickets, which have been 6 of one, half dozen the other, which is exactly the same thing. They just label it something else in law, and many Christians will tell you that. So if we're going to let's not be dishonest about this. If we're not going to allow it, outright stop it. Because the reason why we even brought this up in the first place is the former police commissioner said, listen, with the criminality around the dark black market of numbers in the Cayman Islands, the only way for us to do anything about that is if we increase the penalties and the sentencing for that. Before we allowed the police to do that, we said, hold on, maybe we should ask the people whether they want this to be illegal anymore first. Because you can't have your cake and eat it too. We can't complain about the criminality with our people getting robbed and shot. We had a person murdered, their life taken away from them in this black market. So the advice is you either increase it or you legalize it. Increase the penalties around it so we can make it a safe space, or embrace the legality of it so they can allow them to do the safety measures to protect themselves. Just like you see in the States when somebody has a lotto machine at the gas station, they still have security. If they get robbed, they can call the police and so forth and so forth. So these questions are not only about of dictating to the government what to do, but to give them a gauge of where the appetite and stomach is for the people in these issues. Sorry.
Okay, Lord Graham, thank you very much for that. We're going to take a commercial break now. When we return, we're going to go straight through until 10 o'clock without another break, because we have so many callers queued up as well. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Did you know that Doctors Hospital provides urgent care services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And Doctors Hospital's urgent care physicians have access to the most advanced MRI and CT imaging in the Caribbean, providing reliable diagnostics when you need it most. When you need quality urgent care for an illness or injury, Doctors Hospital is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walker's Road. Urgent care right now.
It's me again, that old girl, traveling everywhere with Cayman Airways. This time, I go in direct to Tampa because Tampa airfares are on sale. You know, it's been a long time and I seen Cousin Sally up in Tampa or Uncle Joe in Orlando, but I'm not sitting in the Orlando airport traffic, no sir. If you go in Orlando, Cayman Airways via Tampa, still the best way to go. You can even book a car rental through them, you know. And I know one thing, I'm racking up all the Sir Turtle rewards miles I can get for even more trips this year.
For travel now through April 15th, call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to catch your Tampa seats on sale now through January 27th.
Can you imagine your home completely organized? At Brand Source Custom Closets, we can. We specialize in designing and building custom closets and storage units for any room in your home, including the garage. With tailored designs and custom LED lighting solutions to fit your lifestyle and budget, our custom closets expert is committed to enhancing the value of your home with a solution that is uniquely yours. Visit our showroom or call 623-6774 to schedule a no-obligation appointment with our design expert. Brand Source Custom Closets, 209 Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers, a compounding story.
I don't think people realize how pain creeps into your life. It has a way of robbing your strength. I really don't like taking prescription medication orally.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. They understand.
When it comes to compounded medication, it's personal. So whenever there's a problem with some medication or treatments that's not working right, then a physician will call me and say, hey, they're having bad side effects from this medication.
Compounding pain cream changed the game. Made special for me. Significant pain relief in the form of a cream. That is a new experience for me.
It's changed his life.
It worked.
Ask your pharmacist or healthcare provider about compounding at West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. Call 914-6449.
At Kirk's Home Center, we can make your life much better. We got it all together. We got a great deal in store for you. From cookware to stereos, from power tools to plumbing supplies. Yeah, we got the best goods with the best price and a service to make you smile. At Kirk's Home Center, we got a great deal in store for you.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. We have two callers on the landline, one on the WhatsApp. Before we go to the WhatsApp, this person wrote and said, well, I understand the NRA said that the road won't save much drive time, but then you had MP Dwayne Seymour saying the road would help people to sleep an hour longer. I don't think I read or heard anyone say that the road shouldn't be built. It was more about ensuring it was done properly. Glad that the Deputy Premier is always willing to come on and take questions and take the heat. He could teach some of the other ones to do the same.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to take the WhatsApp caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
The famous speaking Rambo.
Yep.
Good morning, Kenneth.
Morning, Rambo.
Mr. Connor. Yeah,
morning, Rambo.
Yeah, good. Hello, Kenneth, I'm curious, this morning, all your calls, if it's central or across the board?
Say that last part again.
So all the callers call in, or
no, I represent everybody. I represent everybody. It's the good people of Georgetown who elect me, but I represent everybody. So you can give your comments.
But Kenneth, because I'm in Georgetown East now.
That's okay. I represent you still.
Right? 37 years, I've been here almost, right? In 4 years, I'm always central. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's well until my godfather, Mr. Weller.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And I try to wrap it up now. Can it differently, right? You see, my interpretation and version, right? This whole rendition, right? Of this referendum, now, it pertaining to destined resolvement, now. That's the ad hoc position, right? In the base of core supporters is advocate for transit movement, electric, across the board, whatever the topic is, the topical, whatever the topic is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get it? Subjective, right? The voter, right? It's internal, within intrinsic, the private individual who want to vote now. You know how to go right there.
Mm-hmm.
In this scenario, objectively, the voters has that consideration without prejudice. You understand? So, obviously, came on, we based on state and church. That's the fundamentalism of it. Okay? Some denominations are very stringent. And they accurate with it verbatim. You know what I mean? You understand, Kenneth?
Mm-hmm.
And I call in Wednesday, and Mr. Tatum on, and the other opposition leader. And Mr. Tatum is saying that we don't need no referendum, especially for the topic. Yeah, and I call him a prison. You had you and Chris Saunders, Mr. G. Banks, on, Mr. OC. Now 2022, I say we don't need that. The everywhere surpasses, substantively, to almost degree. You know, yeah, that's simplicity. I understand. I don't know if you get it, and I pick on you know, but I don't know if you like if you don't want to be like coincide with that.
No,
with that or you know the reputation.
No, I just believe in allowing the people to have their say in respect to this matter. Like, some people may have the view that you don't need to have a referendum to decriminalize marijuana. I don't necessarily agree with that. Many people in my constituency don't like that idea at all, and I will respect their opinion. So I think that democracy is about what the majority feel. Now, granted, not every decision has to go to referendum. I'm not suggesting that. But when there are sensitive areas like a national lottery, which has Christian components and religious components to it, marijuana, which is culturally something that we don't accept, but we recognizing it's not as harmful as it is the public ready for these changes? And the only way you're going to find that out is to ask the people. And there's never, ever, ever you can say something wrong with asking the people to give you and weigh in on the topic. I can't see how that's a wrong thing.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, caller. Let's grab the landline caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, OC.
Good morning.
Bryan.
Good morning, sir.
This is Joseph Woods.
Hey, Mr. Joseph.
How are you guys doing today?
Good, and yourself?
Not bad.
Okay.
What I'm calling about, I mean, I was listening with interest, and I agree with Dr. Massey, and I agree with Lord Graham. You know, and I won't bother to go over all of those, but I want to ask the extremist environmentalists, how can a referendum be controversial when it's only asking your opinion? Mind you, sometimes it might be better for government to just do what government needs to do, but in a democracy, like you said, you asking the people for an opinion, and I can't see how that's controversial. They kind of remind me of the story about Chicken Little where the sky was falling. If you remember, sometime back, CPR wanted a referendum, and now when they're getting it, they don't want it. Them and Sustainable came on, and we're being held hostage by a few extreme environmentalists. I guess they're afraid now that the majority of people are seeing their misinformation, and will vote against it and vote for the items on the referendum. And you know, when they're talking about the East-West arterial costing $1 million, they're not telling you though that how many billions are being wasted in time by the people who have to spend hours in traffic. If you add all of that time up, you will cross $1 billion real fast, much faster than it will take to build it. The other thing that I want to speak on with that environmental problem is that when they did the terms of reference for the East-West arterial, I have discovered that they never even considered farmland in the terms of reference. In other words, farmland has no value, but mosquito swamp land contains the highest value. For the life of me, I can't figure that out, because I know we can't shoot mosquitoes, we can't steam them, and we can't make them into rundown. And the fact is that the East-West arterial was only going to take a little bit of the swamp land. But it happened to me, they want to swallow 3 3/4 acres of my farmland to put the road in upright sound, rather than putting it where it had originally been proposed to go, on the edge of the swamp land. And anyway, that's another matter. With reference to the cruise port referendum, they come up with all sorts of arguments as to why that shouldn't take place in Georgetown. But you ask them to name one other place in Cayman that would be more environmentally favorable, and they can't name one. They talk about the erosion on 7 Mile Beach, but you ever looked at where the fishermen clean their fish? in the recent by weather that we had to took away the sand on the southern part of 7 Mile Beach, that little fisherman place got full of rocks and rubble. Not a drop of sand from 7 Mile Beach, but it got full of sand and rubble, totally different kind from what you found on 7 Mile Beach. Listen, all they are doing is trying to create alarm and frustration for their own agenda, and it's not for the good of the Caymanian people, not for the good of the Cayman economy.
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. How many more calls do we have on hold, Ms. Susan? 2 callers. Let's take those 2 callers. We're going to make those the last callers. We have a WhatsApp voice note as well, because we still have to give. There's a lot for you to respond to.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll have to come back again. That's no problem. I'm always here to talk to people.
You want to play the voice note first, Ms. Susan? Okay, go ahead.
And hopefully other people will think these things through and look at the overall plan and not just the short-term gain. Thank you. Again, Mr. OC, Mario here. I just want to clarify 2 quick things. One, my suggestion or warning about the face masks, I thought I made it very clear. That is really in regard to wearing in the public. If people want to wear face masks in their workplace, of course in the medical facilities or construction sites, if it's safe, that's fine. I'm talking about people running around in the shops, riding their bicycles on the street, going into all sorts of places in the broad daylight or at night time with their face partially fully covered. So that should be easy to understand, even for the other caller who called in afterwards and had some difficulty understanding that. The other thing is in regard to the road. Let me ask one question. If we have 6 lanes coming in to Georgetown and 6 lanes going out, but when you get into Georgetown, you have a 2-lane bottleneck. How is that going to help? So you're going to feed the traffic in there at a larger volume and then still get a bottleneck. So that's what I'm saying. We need to look at this whole thing, think it out properly. We need a national development plan that has everything in it, proper development plan, and realize that there's solutions that we can all have if we have a sit down and have a good look at things. But what's happening is that we're building these roads, opening up land for people to buy land to develop subdivisions and little villages. Pretty soon all that traffic pouring in from those subdivisions and villages into those bypass roads that should have limited access, but they don't. You just don't have stop and go traffic on those bypass roads as well. So further ahead, we need to have a proper plan. I've been saying that for the last 25 years. Those who fail to plan to fail. We have too much short-term gain for long-term pain. We need to have a national solution, national conversation, put together a 20 or 30-year plan and stick to it regardless of which government is elected. Thank you. I hope that clarifies those 2 points at least.
Okay, Ms. Susan, thank you for that. We're going to take our last 2 callers. We're going to ask each caller to please be as brief as possible. Because,
if you may, I promise to be brief. I just want to quickly respond.
Okay.
For one, we talk about the cost of the road. If we delay this anymore, the cost isn't going down.
Yeah.
It's going to go up. If we had built the road a long time ago, we wouldn't be in this mess now. So for us to continue to delay it, regardless if it's $1 billion or $100 million or $10, the price is only going to go up. So we have to get it done. And also, it's not only about traffic. It's so subjective when people just make selective arguments to prove their point when there's other factors involved. But I have to agree with the person who sent in the voice note that we do have to have a national plan in respect to development. So he's 100% right there, and I support him on that. Regardless of which government gets in, we have to be bipartisan with that process so we all agree to it in the future.
Yep, right. Got you. Last 2 callers, please be as brief as possible. First caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Connor. Morning, Deputy Premier.
Good morning, ma'am.
Okay. I'm going to save the small talk since Mr. Connor will cut me off. Okay, so one, the referendum, the part regarding the port. I noticed that the question doesn't state where the port should be built. Now, that to me is not fair, because we could vote yes, that we want one or we need one, and it go through, and then later on we find out it's going to be where we don't want it to be. So I think the question should state where you have in mind to build the port. That's one. And two, I want to ask you, Deputy Premier, I know there was a time that you were a very strong advocate against that pier being built out in Georgetown. And I would like to ask you now to tell us, the people, who or what has changed your mind about it. And number three, I heard you speak of many things, and I will always believe that if the Constitution would be followed, district councils should be set up. It should have been done a long time ago, because that's where the communication between the people and people like yourself would be very helpful, and we don't expect any representative to be everywhere all at the same time. But if you had district councils, and their feet are on the ground, their ears are to the ground, they can come back and say to you, this is what we would like, this is what we need. And then the representatives can get together and decide what the priorities are. Obviously, we won't get everything, but prioritize it. So I will leave you there, and I hope that you will answer the questions, especially with the first two.
Yes. Thank you very much, caller, Minister Bryan.
Yes, quickly. Why have I changed my mind? Just to clarity, we can check the Hansards if you like. I was never against cruise itself. What I was against is the cargo component of what was proposed by the then government, the Progressives, was to build cargo facility along with the cruise berthing facility in the same place. I think the industrial component of their plan was not what I was not in support of. And also, I did not believe, quite like many people, that the cruise lines were serious. And I take full fault for that. And like I said, only a dead man in the fool cannot change your mind. And I've seen firsthand, as the Minister for Tourism, the realities that are coming from a cruise industry perspective and how it's going to affect the people that live in that or work in that industry. In respect to district councils, I do support that. I think that when the district councils legislation was created, it was created under the multi-member constituency element, and I think that's where the changes need to be made, which actually, believe it or not, I think we need to go back to the old system. So hopefully that news breaking, Deputy Premier says that. But I think it's time for us to consider going back to multi-member, because the single member has caused so much divide, and I see it. So it's quite sad in my humble opinion. But
so that would be multi-member with still one person, one vote?
Still one person, one vote.
Okay,
right?
yeah, and that is quite possible. What about the question about location? Raised about the location?
Okay, so I think Mr. Joey, the former port director, said a very good point, which is, which other location would be more environmentally friendly? It reminds me of the lady who commented when we did the public consultation, the cargo facility. She said, well, if you're going to build it, you might as well leave it in town, because the out there is already damaged so much. If you go anywhere else, is virgin area. But also the component of the fact that so much infrastructure by way of buildings and shops and all that stuff is already concreted downtown. Not to say that if they build a cargo a pier facility somewhere else, the people can't travel to downtown on a bus or what have you. But all the systems are already set up downtown. And also, I don't think that I would encourage those who may not have heard my debate when we argued the motion to go to YouTube, Parliament YouTube, and look at what I said, because I did an hour and 35 minutes contribution giving the details to this. This is not an easy thing to do in 3 minutes, because it's very complicated, and I did all the research and all the arguments, pros and cons of why I think it's best for us to have a referendum and why we should move forward with it. I really encourage you, if you really want to genuinely get the whole assessment, if you watch that YouTube contribution that I did in Parliament, I outlined everything. I think I covered all of her questions. So we want to take the other call.
No, the other call is gone. So
okay. I want to say, in wrapping up, I just want to say that we did not get to the other ones, which is the anti-sexual harassment bill, the beneficial ownership transparency bill, and the Customs and Border Control bill. Just to quickly say if I could interrupt you there, one person
had opined earlier about the anti-sexual harassment bill.
Yes.
And wanted to say that if there aren't mechanisms in
There
that
is.
bill to, for it to work,
I know.
then it's gonna be useless.
I overheard the caller
Mhm.
while I was driving in, and it's basically for there to be a tribunal for challenges because people can be frivolous in their
Mhm,
attempts
mhm,
against
mhm.
person and malign individuals. So there are clauses in here that deals with it. Just to quickly summarize, to say that Part 1 is obviously the short title interpretation of the bill. Part 2 deals with commission of the act of sexual harassment, anti-sexual harassment policy, employers and employee obligations, employer's duty to an employee, liability to employer, institution, qualification, bodies, associations, organization, goods, services and facilities, accommodation, real or personal property, general, professional, relationship obligations, victimization as a result of a complaint, pressure to engage in sexual harassment. Now that's part 2. The part 3 is the part that deals with the query that was done by the author of the question, which deals with the anti-sexual harassment tribunal, which deals with the establishment of a tribunal, what's the functions of that tribunal, the independence of the tribunal, the composition of the tribunal, tenure of members, declaration of interest, registration, revocation, vacancy, remuneration of expenses, protection of liabilities, all the normal things for any kind of tribunal in respect to the operations of it. And then you have part 4 of the legislation that deals with the miscellaneous elements like the standards of proof, the regulations, act binding on the Crown, repeals, and saving and transitional provisions. Now, that's a quick wrap up. So I do agree with the caller that you have to look at both sides of this. We do want to protect persons, and I say persons specifically because it's not only women that get sexually harassed, and we have to have something in play, but we also have to protect because there's been so many experiences and historical cases of persons just doing it to malign individuals. So there's protections in that. In respect to the beneficial ownership, it's just about, the legitimate interest access that the government has agreed to in respect to international obligations for beneficial ownership.
Right.
It's a cleanup
In terms of
exercise.
getting that information.
Correct. It's a cleanup exercise in some other areas that needed to be done. Particularly, let me just quickly see if I can take the bill out to give you a summary. So sorry. I feel so bad that I didn't give enough attention to this area. But it's also for, there's other companies that were not on the list thus far that had to be obligated to have a beneficial owner information set up, but forcing those ones that didn't meet that requirement to have it set up, like non-profits as well, doesn't mean that people will have access to their beneficial information, like who's the owner, who's the organizer, who's the directors. You still have to meet the threshold and the criteria for legitimate interest access, which was outlined in Parliament recently. So that's a cleanup exercise for that. The other one was the Customs and Border Control Act, which is an increase in penalties by way of fines and imprisonment for some violations that we have been seeing over the last couple of decades. It's too detailed for me to go into that right now. The last thing, I'm not going to miss out on this opportunity, so I'll give my last.
And I have a question for you too that I want to ask.
No problem. As Minister for Social Development, I am going to be inquiring with the Premier. I've spoken to her preliminarily, for increasing the seaman benefits as well as the poor person's relief. The opposition asked us.
It's currently at what?
$12.50.
Okay.
The opposition asked us about trying to bring it to $1,500, and obviously we declined that request on the basis of trying to manage the country's finances. But we do recognize that the expenses that are in today's economy, that we have to make sure we protect the most vulnerable our seniors, our seamen, our pensioners, our poor persons relief. So we are looking at the numbers, and I'm hoping that I can make a statement in Parliament to potentially increase the seamen benefits and poor persons relief before the end of this parliamentary session. So I won't commit to exactly what the amount is, but hopefully we can increase it more, because it is the cost of living isn't going down, and we want to make sure the most vulnerable is protected. So
it will be considered.
Yes.
Yeah, my question is, the former deputy premier, I think it was on Talk Today.
Yes.
Spoke about the fact that, in explaining why the group left the government, and said that basically they didn't feel that they could do anything, that they could protect the government or the people of the Cayman Islands in cabinet. My question to you is, if you are in cabinet where all of the guardrails are, how can you speak about leaving the cabinet because you don't have any control and you can't protect the people? How do you protect them on the outside? If you're in there where all of the guardrails are, right? At the end of the day, if you wanted to, and you wanted to break the whole concept and the protocol of collective responsibility, then you go down to the Parliament and you vote against what the government has brought forward, and then we know what the repercussions from that would be. But the argument to me doesn't convince me, and I'd like to get your opinion on it. Do you feel that you can work better inside cabinet or outside of cabinet if there is controversy?
Definitely inside cabinet. The simple answer to your question, OC, is that's not why they left.
Okay.
It was never about that. Like, there's always arguments. The UDP, the PPM, and the future government will argue. That's human nature. It's a part of the filtering process to come to a conclusion. Don't be duped by the nonsense that you've heard. I'm telling you from inside. Those who know me know I'm a straight shooter. That is nonsense. It was a power play, right? It was the honorable former minister seeking power. Is it just so happened to be that he's now the leader of that new party? Is it happened to be he was the one that voted against Wayne Panton when there was a no confidence motion against him? I'm blown away by the politics that's happening, and I just hope that my people are not being fooled by it. But also, like, this notion that you couldn't stop it is utterly not true. If you are saying that, Dr. McFeel said it so clearly, said it's about ideological principles. And I see historically, hopefully this will go down in record, what I see happening right now is the filtering of principal viewpoints by a set of group of people. What we have is, and I'm being an environmentalist is not a bad thing. Being an extreme environmentalist and not thinking about human quality of life is a bad thing. And what we have is a group of extreme environmentalists with a person who has a lot of money supporting that viewpoint, paying media to support that viewpoint, to convince the people who don't have the time to go through the details themselves and just fooling them with headlines. That's one group that is formulating. Then you have this other group in the corner of elitists who talk about being governed by the inferiors. That will come out in due time.
Oh, you said you were going to read that. Are you going to read it?
I'll hold it till the campaign time.
Okay.
Because you're going to need a little bit of that. Then you have, and I must say that the progressives, no matter what differences that we've had, there's more mindset with the things that I think about with the progressives than any one of those other groups. And I'll tell you why. Because it was more personalities. There was a little bit of fight between me and the former Sir Alan McLaughlin. And you know, but that's where I came from. And believe it or not, the progressives in the UDP have a lot of similarities. It was looking for the grassroots people, the poorer class people in this country, the middle class and small businesses. It was never about big business and big money and the extreme environmentalists. And what I see happening is the progressives in one corner, the leftover of another government in another corner, the extreme environmentalists in the other corner, and the elitists in the other corner. And I think it's only a natural course of action that 2 of those 4 are going to join hands together to form the next government. That's my opinion. And you're starting to see the ideological thoughts that Dr. Matfield was talking about start to become visible to the public. So I'll leave it there. I was hoping to focus this mainly on the bills without the politics, but there's no way of getting around that. OC, thank you for having me on. To the listening audience in the Cayman Islands, and particularly those in Georgetown Central, I love you. I want to continue working for you. So yes, I am running again to be your voice in Georgetown Central. God bless you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Deputy Premier. Folks, don't forget to join Sterling Dwayne Ebanks at 12:15 for Talk Today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these 3 beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
Your dream home starts with a vision, and often inspiration is at the heart of that vision. Brand Source Home Gallery's in-house designers are here to help bring your vision to life. Whether you're remodeling or building a new home, Brand Source Home Gallery is your one-stop solution. Explore their kitchen cabinets, sinks, faucets, bath fixtures, tubs, vanities, and more. Let Brand Source's designers help and inspire you with your next project. Call 623-5000 and schedule an appointment with a design expert at Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, serving Cayman for 50 years.
For the Record, proudly brought to you by
Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury, and JN Money. From abroad to yard. Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctor's Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctor's Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And Kirk Market. Experience a world of choice.
Covering Little Cayman, Cayman Bride.
Cover me, cover me.
Radio Cayman.